Welcome to 5 and 5 from the One Stop Co-op Shop, where I discuss 5 key elements of a game in about 5 minutes. I'm Michael Kelly, and today I'm reviewing Gardeners, a cooperative deduction game with a solo variant. And no disclaimer needed for this one, they only sent me a prototype copy of the game. I've enjoyed cooperative deduction recently with games like Letter Jam and Paint the Roses. How does Gardeners stand up? Let's find out and get to the list. My number 5 point, which is a pro, is the tutorial system in the game. This is from the same company and designer as Magic Maze, and like that game, they really kind of walk you through and slowly streamline you into things. They have specific constraint cards and like little guides to them that teach you what each of the types of goals you'll have for the game are. And they also slowly introduce bigger and bigger sizes of the board with more and more tiles, so it really makes the game easy and smooth to learn. I played it with my 10-year-old, I played it with my wife, a more casual gamer, and they had no trouble at all getting into it. And this also applies to the solo mode. You can use this kind of onboarding for the solo mode as well, so just a really nice way to get the player playing the game quickly. And speaking of solo, this is my number 4, and it's a mix because it's going to appeal differently to some people. So the basic idea of the game in cooperative play is that you're trying to like match these constraint cards that you're not aware of what the other player has. So like you're trying to follow rules and build the garden, the tiles in such a way that they follow all these rules. But in solo mode, they take away all of the hidden information. You just add on cards one at a time in basically a push your luck style game where you are trying to build as many cards as you can without getting so full of goals that you can't complete them. So it's really pretty interesting kind of tactically. You can freely move the tiles around in solo, which you can't in cooperative. So it becomes like a really kind of interesting optimization puzzle of trying to get the garden to work as you get more and more things to deal with. So I think it's pretty neat, but it does, of course, lose the real-time aspect, the tension, the limited communication, the cooperation of the game. So I fully appreciate that they have one in here. Is it my preferred way to play the game? No, but I think some people who just like really interesting tile-laying puzzles might actually like it more than the co-op play. My number 3 is also a mix, which is the timer and how it relates to the goals of the game. So basically, this is a beat your own score sort of game. You're just trying to solve as many of the constraint cards as you can within a 15-minute time limit. They have this nice chunky timer, at least in the prototype I have. And on the positive side, there is a little bit of time tension, but not that much. So people who like sort of like real-time games or usually don't like real-time games, I don't think this is going to scare them too much because, again, it's just like one long timer just setting how long you have to score as much as you can. It's not like it's a stressful game where there's chaos with the real-time aspect. But on the other hand, at least for my taste, I find just beat your own score kind of modes. They have the same thing for solo, a little bit dull. Now, one cool part is if you score high enough, I have not yet, you can unlock these advanced constraint cards that'll make the game tougher. So there is something to kind of aim for. But I don't know, just personally, I don't find just like trying to get the highest score you can super interesting in these kind of games. And the timer doesn't really amp that excitement up at all for me. And I have another mix for number 2, that's 3 in a row, which is arranging the garden. So in the full game, you'll have a 6x6 set of tiles, and you're laying them out again to try to fulfill these constraint cards and like match the rules. And this is where all the communication, quote unquote communication, comes in the game. So this is a limited communication co-op in that you can take tiles out starting from the outside and give them to other players to try to set up the garden differently to fulfill your goals. But you have to give it to another player, and then they are the one who puts the tile back somewhere else. But then they have to figure out, why is this person giving me these? Like, why are they giving me greens and not browns? So how does that relate to the card? So, that's pretty interesting, and I do like that. But sometimes it can feel a little bit clunky and forced in that, like, sometimes when I know exactly what I need and they don't know anything, I'll just, like, hand them, like, 10 things, and they'll just have to deal with it. But I'll end with a full-on pro. I've been mentioning them a lot, and those are the constraint cards you're actually trying to match. So first of all, they have, as you can see here, little hints on the back of the cards. So you have a sense of what they mean. And again, the tutorial does a really nice job of like walking you through what these backs represent. So you have a decent amount of knowledge, and that can, again, give you an idea of like what you might want to hand to people to try to help figure out what their goal means. Sometimes the other player will say you've solved their goal, but you won't really know why yet. So you kind of have like some hidden information there. And then the goal themselves, they just have sort of like interesting things. They aren't like too hard to fulfill individually, but the coolest part about the game is how they combo. like trying to tactically figure out with the puzzle you have, how can I get this pattern while also having this bench looking here, while also having this number of flowers connected to each other. In the core game, you'll have generally 3 at a time, and you'll be taking one away and then adding a new one. And it just kind of gives this evolving tile laying puzzle that I find really compelling and interesting and challenging. And again, even in a solo mode where the puzzle can get even bigger, these combos and kind of building out the garden can be even more intense. So overall, you might enjoy Gardeners if you like cooperative deduction, if you like limited communication, if you like a little bit of real time but without too much tension and stress. On the other hand, if you hate real time play, if you don't like limitations to communication and clues you can give to other players, or if you want tons of variety and modules in your play, because this one's pretty straightforward, Gardeners might not be for you. Good gaming, everyone, and I'll see you at the next stop.